Okay, let's continue. Well, last time I told you that there was a way to basically increase the wage without creating unemployment, and that way is actually decreasing the supply in case of the workers, and you can decrease the supply of workforce collectively if you decrease the working hour. So when workers decrease the standard working hours to 8 hours and require extra payment for um, extra hours work after 8 hours, they also basically, well, they restrict the labor supply, and as they restrict the labor supply, it is possible that the minimum wage for the standard working time won't create unemployment. Um, So these are some remedies that are within the boundaries of the standard market model. I don't say labor market model because that's pretty much the standard market model of the Adam Smith. We are not getting beyond that up to this point. Well, there is one explanation actually provided by Keynesians, basically post-Keynesians, uh, which basically explains which goes kind of beyond the basic labor market model and looks to the some macroeconomic dynamics that increasing minimum wage might actually not create unemployment. Actually, it might increase employment, and that the idea is actually the wage level is also related to the demand level in the economy. So when wage level is low, well, you of course have now increased income for the employers, but according to the new Keynesian, post-Keynesians and Keynesians in general who developed this model, um, the spending characteristics of the employers might be unstable. In some cases, they could spend their money for consumption, but they need to invest, so they rather spare the money. And but in some cases, they just don't invest and wait. So in some cases, that money is not used at all, and prices cannot easily adjust to this lost amount of spending. Uh, but when workers get the money, they are more likely to spend that money. So as a result, increasing minimum wage will increase the overall spending in the economic system, and as a result, um, basically more people, as demand increase, there could be more investments, more production, and as a result, more people might be hired. So this is the case. This is kind of an explanation that goes beyond the basics of the market model we have talked about. Our explanation today is not this, by the way. Our explanation today why basically minimum wage might not create unemployment is not this. It has something to do with monopsony. So, well, the basic labor market model assumes that basically the market is competitive. And when we are talking on labor market, especially unskilled labor market, we might say we are talking on the we are talking on how, when we are talking whether the market is competitive or not. We look potential jobs the typical unskilled worker can get, and when you at first look to that, I mean, an unskilled worker can work in a number of places, and that number, the fact that they can work at number of places might mean that might look like at first that the job market for the workers is very competitive. I mean, you can find jobs from many different places. It's just like in the video. I mean, you well, if a low wage worker doesn't get paid enough, well, that worker is very productive. Um, but well done. You uh, that worker might find jobs in someplace else. But then you might say that why uh, isn't minimum a workplace? Maybe, I mean, if you just think about a low wage worker, I mean, to what extent anyone is trying to find out how productive they are, even if they are working illegally and the wages are not set by any law, let alone minimum wage law. Um, do people try to find the most productive workers? Well, minimum wage was not there. Were people trying to find the most productive workers? Uh, if not, why not? Maybe the productivity differences between the workers were too little, so they don't need to spend that time, and they rather hire people at the existing wage level. Note that, I mean, inspecting people's productivity might be costly, especially before you hire, but in some cases also after you hire. Um, so, uh, well, that's one interesting aspect. I mean, not necessarily people work. I mean, low wage workers, the unskilled workers, their productivity level is inspected, at least in many jobs. Unskilled workers get in some jobs, maybe they might be inspected. Certainly for skilled jobs there's some inspection at varying degrees. Those inspections might also be not that complicated in some cases. We will discuss job search process, and there a little bit we might go into that also. Um, so we have we at first we might assume uh, there is a competitive market, but well, just think about the alternatives to the competitive market at first, without going into the labor market. Well, first, when you have few buyers, and if those few buyers can able to affect the market, affect the price, basically, in the market, in this case, wage, by hiring their hiring practices, by their decisions, especially the decisions, let's say, actually. Uh, Hiring practices is just only decision that matters in a typical market. That's a practice synonymous to the buying in the typical market. Uh, but basically, when you have multiple dimensions like hiring, deciding a pay, promotion, all these things, then you are talking on different decisions. And typically, actually, there are more decisions than just buying for an employer. So if the decisions affect the overall characteristics of the market, in that case you have an oligopoly. If the effect of the each agent in the market is so small that there is no they don't affect the overall characteristics of the market by their single decision making process. Collectively, of course, they will sum up. Then you have a free competitive market. The oligopolistic markets are difficult to model because now you need to understand the strategic decisions of different players, and well, in that case, the results might be very complex. So um, actually, the models of oligopolistic markets are usually incomplete and only work under specified cases. Game theory kind of is a tool you can use to make those specifications and get a clear results for different cases. So it is a tool you can use to create multiple oligopolistic models, but not necessarily it can provide you results for all oligopoly cases. So monopoly and monopsony models, on the other hand, are easier to model. Monopoly case is the case when you have a single seller. Monopsony case is the case when you have a single buyer. When you have single buyer and seller, that could be also the case. In that case, I mean, you have a case when buyers and sellers make negotiations. Do the workers do we have negotiations? We have negotiations. So maybe we have in some cases. Collective bargaining is a negotiation between the company and the workers' organizations. So maybe we have cases of single buyer and single payers in the labor market. And when we look to the union case, actually, I will discuss this more. Case of unions. So when you have a single seller, well, that's the case when you have a single seller of the labor power. Is it possible? Well, you are not necessarily able to have one worker, but you might have a labor organization, which is the union, that is actually bargaining for all workers. In that case, that union might act as if it's a single seller. And when you have a case of a single seller and many buyers, of course, in that case, single buyers will have a limited effect on the market, and in that case, of course, the monopoly won't need to take into account what a single buyer is, single buyers are doing, because their collective behavior is important. And that makes, of course, the analysis of the monopoly case easier because, strategic decisions are not anymore there. The buyers and sellers are not playing against each other. The seller is too large, so buyers cannot do anything to affect their decisions. And the buyers are too small, you don't need to care for what they're individually doing. Okay. Okay, this is basically, when you change the price, the amount you sell, the price might change. This is the typical case for the monopoly. And well, now, how can a monopoly type of market be formed? One way is the case when sellers or buyers are a monopoly or monopsony type of market. Sellers or buyers act in a coordinated manner. So if they act together in making decisions, have some coordination. It should not be perfect coordination. In some manners, it might be acting together. That's enough to form a monopoly or monopsony type of market. Alternatively, again, they might, for example, act together and decide to decrease the amount they sell collectively, and in that case, the effect will be similar to the typical monopoly case. Secondly, if the cost of production decreases as you increase the amount you produce, in that case, you create a monopoly because in that case, the companies that are producing more are advantages. Of course, this case is not that much applicable for them, especially the seller's case, because you don't produce labor power as a monopoly. For the buyer's case, if you buy more labor, whether it will be more productive might be a question, but of course, looking today, this is probably not the thing that give any company monopsony power, because there are many corporations that are demanding labor power anyway. The number of potential buyers were not reduced to small numbers with this through this process. Well, there's a third possibility, and you might have heard this third possibility just here. If the relation between buyers and sellers are long-term relations, in that case, and if breaking up those relations is difficult, in that case, the buyer or seller, or both in some cases, might have a monopoly or monopsony power on each other. So I will talk more on this in the next part.